had bad engage and they didn't have Rell. So I just think they first pick Rell, it's up, they make a straightforward control mage mid, core or Pyosik on an engager.
Leona is an engager.
I was gonna say one thing.
Rell's a better engager.
they lock in the Kaisa, I think.
And our NRG's played 2 good Rell games as well, so it's a now pick 2.
I am kind of curious if they don't want to not first pick Kaisa because they know it will be a flex. And I don't think it's a flex for them because I don't see APA picking Kaisa mid. I'm not really sure. But they're keeping their Kaisa prio, and NRG is keeping their Renekton Rell prio.
And now that we're going up against Rell, and it's likely to be a jungler, though Ignar has played it just literally in this series, I'm thinking Kindred. Because if you are Pyosik, and you just got out of 2 games as Moakai, where mid was doomed, and you kind of got dragged into it, and a Trundle game where you were fed, but there's not much you can do to actually make use of your gold, put resources on me and let me to carry, please. Because it feels like, because if you're getting frustrated at how the rest of the map is going, I think it's on you at that point, at least to be the most vocal person in the room. So I'm interested to see if there's any changes. So far, Tristana being picked, once again, is the comfort fit pick for APA. He just needs to play better in this series. So I'm looking forward to 4 and 5.
Yeah, I mean, he did get a solo kill, but the mid to late game stuff was not great. The Nautilus is technically a flex in some ways because you can. We've seen Pyosik play it. It also pairs very well with Kaisa in the lane.
Yeah.
It can go either way. I don't mind if they had just slammed the Kindred and said screw the flexes because it might get banned now in the second phase.
I just also don't think they can pick Kindred now. Like Kindred, Kaisa, Tristana is not a comp.
Yeah,
it isn't.
They should pick Ornn 4-5, and they should put Pyosik on
the
Moakai.
Summit Ornn, baby.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that they prioed the Nautilus here, just because it has been banned on 4-5 by NRG in both the games. And then on the opposite side, you see NRG being like, Ezreal was so important to our team composition last game. We think they might ban it on 4-5. We're taking it 3rd.
It's also kind of a vibe champ. Like Ezreal relies a lot on skill shots. It, a lot of confidence. You can shift forward if you're playing the game well. And FBI had an incredible game last game. So I like, that's probably him saying, I admit I don't want this ban again. Make sure we actually step up and get me this champion.
I want to see a Silas ban right here from Team Liquid as well. I think Palafox would slam that if it's available.
I like that point because I was going to go into mid lane. We come into this series. It seems like we were heavily talking about the mid lane champion pool, and it feels like, we just got out of a game with the Syndra getting picked. And yes, you're right, Dedic got solo killed in a way that Palafox wanted to take back. But in the team fights, he was pretty pivotal. And so champion pool is pretty large. I agree, the Silas ban you want to see, but it makes sense for Palafox to go into 4-5 and have that counter pick versus Tristana.
Yeah, Emily called out the Ornn ban. I think that's a good ban by NRG. That would have been like a Summit fallback. They haven't been winning games through Summit carrying, so they actually have won 2 games of Summit playing Ornn, and it's decent into Renekton, so I like the ban.
And
that's good too.
The Poppy.
They want to see Syndra.
The Poppy ban, I really like that because obviously I think that made a massive difference in NRG's draft last game.
And also, if they do go with the Syndra, I'll be honest and say I'm on the other side. I didn't think it was that impactful in the game overall. I think lane phase didn't go great. It got solo killed.
Because of his mistake,
Yeah, it was his mistake. He can clean that up. But even in the mid to late game, it felt like it was a lot more about the front line of NRG as well as the Ezreal pelting and the dragon stacking much more than the Syndra. So I'm actually kind of happy they didn't go back to the Syndra.
They still get good poke. I would say those 2 champions make it pretty difficult for Kaisa Trist to approach.
Yes.
Right? Like if they ever want to stand and fire, they're going to be getting consistently outranged by Jayce Ezreal.
And the same for the Trundle within that game, but it made it harder for the back line. This game, actually we saw the video piece from Palafox talking about like how confident he was on Jayce at the time. And even though he's a slow starter, when he ramps up, he feels like he's in flow. In this game, he started the series already playing well, so I want to see if that Jayce comes to good use this game.
Sejuani coming through.
What's Summit cooking?
Oh, I'm ready.
Him and Pyosik are chatting it up.
Jax.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
Camp my lane. Come up here.
Is the Moakai going to come through, or is Contractz?
Give me the Moakai.
Or?
Contractz is a Shyvana lover, by the way. In Academy, he played that thing. He made the champ look great.
Kobe's in the green room right now.
His palms are sweaty, but it has to be a Moakai.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's Shyvana, especially since a lot of people I know were saying that like it's more Shyvana top angle with the buffs that came through and less Shyvana jungle. So there it is, like you said. The Moakai.
Yeah, little Mao.
I mean, obviously, we've seen how potent these poke comps can be with Moakai to set it up. So I really like that.
I like the NRG team comp a lot. They're going to go Demonic Embrace on Moakai to give him a little magic damage poke.
Be some beefcakes.
Yep.
With some
It's
poke.
tough. It's tough for Team Liquid, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see what our casters think as we go to them and the third game of our series.
Muchas gracias, Emily, and the rest of the LCS Lounge. NRG, match point on the line for them. A potential 3-0 sweep. Team Liquid, if they want any chances, they're going to have to start the long grind here and work their way backwards. 3 wins in a row. But NRG, they have everything on their side to be able to just clean this series.
Or it's something like Death Dance Tabbies if he wanted. So I do think there's efficiencies that can be gained there. My concern is not with the draft, it's with the play, right? I do believe that we've seen a lot of times where TL have been able to create really strong top lane advantages with drafting a strong 2v2 like this. And I think that's what they're going to look for this game. It's just, what will that mean for you going forward, right? You know, I think back to a game we were talking about in the green room earlier today where they were playing Fiora. And I can't even remember if it was against NRG, but where they had a massive lead with Sejuani Fiora, you know, playing through topside and, you know, even went Hullbreaker. And then they decided at a certain point to just hard force 5v5s and started losing all the 5v5s instead of just split pushing where they were already kind of cleaning out the game. And so it's these late game decisions, these mid game decisions that really plague TL that honestly has been a problem for them for the last, I want to say like 2 years at least, that they haven't really been able to solve. So that is the big question for me, is like, can they actually, you know, transition an early game lead, an early game plan into a victory? Because I do think that they have the tools to win games. Like if you're looking at this, if Jax gets ahead, no one's gonna be able to really answer Jax through side. I think Jax can also group pretty effectively if you go something like Sterek second and look for 5v5.
Sure.
You have, you know, multiple types of damage with, you know, mixed damage from your top lane, you have physical damage from mid, magic damage from Yeon. So I think that they have like a really solid team comp. You have good engage with Nautilus as well as the Sejuani. So it's not such an easy game here for FBI. And he's also not playing Cleanse, so the ability to lock him down is there. Like they have lots of tools to be able to win, but the question is, will they be able to do it?
Early all-in from Ignar and FBI as they burn the Ignite down on the CoreJJ. Not going to burn the Flash, though. No Summoner Spells burned from either of them. But he has to base because he is way too low on HP, and he doesn't want to use his only pot this early.
Yeah, I'm not going to be spending up all his potions. So it's just going to kind of take a bit of a loss on that, and will end up going back. It is that Ignite used, of course. Part of the issue is that it's going to be missed experience here for Core. We'll see how much of the CS as well Yeon misses without anyone to actually help him grab it. APA, though, early push here through mid lane. Of course, there is that backdoor protection, or the early game protection, whatever you even want to call it. That is there until 5 minutes. So even with that hard early shove, not going to be able to get too much damage down on that tower, but every little bit of chip does help quite a lot. Grasp here, picked for Summit, you know, is very strong for the laning phase. And in a lot of these kind of matchups for Jax, your late game is so strong that you just want to prioritize getting through lane and being able to kind of survive in that lane. A lot of people do look at this as a pretty heavily skill-based matchup. It's so much about how you utilize the Counter-Strike. Can you actually be able to immune that stun coming through from the Renekton? So there's lots of, at the highest level, these little mini games that people are playing where they're actually trying to fake animations and cancel auto attacks and do things like that. Pop W, but not actually auto attack right away, so that they then look for the Counter-Strike, then you stun them after, things like that. So there's all kinds of little things that they're trying to do to be able to kind of trick out each other. So it becomes a bit of a mind game, and I think it's really fun to watch.
Now top lane, and it is super volatile. It's going to be a test for Summit to see if he can, not only, as you go back to what you said, find that lead as he did in Game 2, and for most of the Summer Split games that he's been in for this roster, but actually find a way to use that lead to snowball the rest of the game into a conclusive win for the squad.
Oh, ouch.
Getting pushed in here. He has Pyosik on his side for the top side of the map. Dhokla might just face check it in. It's going to take... Actually, Pyosik just dipped out there. My mistake.
Yeah, the wave was too big. So basically, at first, Summit, I think, was trying to contest the wave a little bit to hold it, but he used that Counter-Strike for that initial trade. And then Dhokla kind of just walked up. And when you get stunned up in the face of a fat mini wave like that, you're going to take so much damage. So I think the read was then, all right, there's no more gank to happen, right? And if you try to run past the wave and actually make that gank happen anyway, and then you lose that wave and don't get the kill, well, then you're really screwed. Yeah. So, you know, they end up playing it a little bit slow, but Pyosik is back here, and Dhokla didn't respect it.
Yeah, well, He gets the double slice and dice, but does he flash away? Pyosik doesn't land the second cast of W, but they still have the mobility to lock him down. That's Summit first blood, and he still has flash advantage on top of Dhokla.
Yeah, that is massive. Pyosik, was a little bit slow there with the flash on that W to try to redirect it, but at the end of the day, who cares? You got the first blood. It went to Jax. Yes, some of the CS is going to be farmed up here by Dhokla, so that will equalize a little bit, but Summit is going to have such a better buy on this first base here. And he goes back with an additional 600 gold to spend, so gets a Sheen, gets boots, gets a Ruby Crystal, still has potions in pocket. He is going to be feeling really, really good about his position in this lane. And now it is about, can he make more of this? Can he continue to push this forward?
On the other side of the map, NRG, the fact that FBI and Ignar were able to get that early chunk onto CoreJJ meant that they had a majority of the push. I'm curious to see if they're going to continue having that push to set up for an early dragon stacking, because that is what was one of the surprising win conditions that NRG got in that second game. The fact that they were able to actually win that pushing war got them a lot of those early dragons. If Pyosik is going to find Contractz here in the jungle, he's going to W right on in. Palafox first has collapse. AP is going to jump in and try to get as much damage as he can, but now it's in a 1v2. He gets one more rocket jump, but he would have the flash to commit for the all-in, and he's just not going to do that. Contractz gets out alive.
Yeah, APA is not level 6, unfortunately. Palafox was. If APA was 6, I think he maybe looks for the flash follow, knowing that he just needs to land probably like one more auto and then go for the ulti, or maybe 2 autos then the ulti. But without that, it's not really worth looking for that follow there. So a nice punch back on the bottom side from Contractz and Palafox. Contractz, of course, was up in farm because of the time spent up towards that top side from Pyosik, and is able to run into the enemy jungler. He's up a level, he starts scrapping, and Palafox was able to get over there a lot more quickly than APA. So nicely done by NRG, evening things out quite a lot.
It's good information to know for the rest of the map as well. No flashes on either of these junglers, so if they show up in your lane, they will not have a flash to be able to close the distance here. Dhokla is looking, has no flash available.
But it was actually so important that he was spotted there by Pyosik. If Pyosik wasn't there at that moment, I don't know if APA is actually playing so carefully, and maybe he actually gets a kill off that roam. So a nice little attempt from Dhokla. And also, Palafox was low on mana, so he wanted to roam to actually cover him. There is a cost to this, though. He's going to lose probably 2 melees, and he loses a plate to someone who's already ahead. So definitely not a free roam by any means. At the end of the day, lost the 2 melees, lost experience off none of the range, but did lose one of those as a CS. So it's going to put someone in an even better spot here. It's also interesting that Palafox is going first strike on the Jayce. In this matchup, we've been seeing like a lot of people do even like phase rush and things like that, where, if the Tristana jumps in, they'll just actually proc their phase rush, knock them away, and then just kind of run back, so you can't continue hitting those auto attacks with the E up as Tristana, but is going for more kind of like a poke-focused late game style build. They have Contractz, obviously, first strike. He has red smite. He's going to be going demonic, as the lounge did talk about. So he will be kind of that sole source of AP, which definitely makes the saplings annoying, especially if they are hitting on squishy targets. But if they're hitting on a tank, you have some MR in your mythic. You don't really need more than that. As long as you have a little bit of health, you can just stack armor against this composition that NRG has built. And I think Sejuani, as long as Pyosik is getting a lot of gold, is going to be pretty tough to actually punch through for NRG.
Yeah. It just puts the onus on Team Liquid to make sure that it's always CoreJJ and Pyosik first into the river, face checking for saplings, because if APA or Yeon ever gets chunked by one of those, and then a Shock Blast follows up or a Mystic Shot over the wall, suddenly you cannot fight the team fight that you want to take anymore as the objective. Rift Herald is available. Contractz is here to collapse onto Pyosik. Summit does have first collapse, but Ignar is here once again for the first roam. And that's going to make things a little difficult for Pyosik to just start soloing it down. Energy back off for now.
You also have to remember, Ezreal is actually making the move, and he can assist with his ulti cross map. So NRG are going to have the extra members there, but TL are still kind of playing with the idea of challenging here.
Oh, the smite was early, but Contractz still gets it. And they just force the front line to back away into the jungle quadrant. CoreJJ finds a 2-man stun, but they already lost Summit and Pyosik, so APA, what can he do? He's not going to be able to reset on any of these guys. It's all 5 members here from NRG. The 5-man unit committing, and Dhokla gets a triple kill on top of it.
TL just making a baffling decision to actually try to fight that. Summit and Pyosik were kind of just messing around with them on the top side, but if you're not going to commit to the play to actually try to go for the Herald, which you're obviously not because Yeon is not moving, why are you still staying there? It just doesn't make sense. The risk versus reward is horrible. So Pyosik at the end of the day goes forward with this ulti, but it's like no one's there to follow up. This is just a total int. I mean, Summit is kind of playing with fire a bit. Like he's trying to say, okay, is there an option here? He steps forward with the Counter-Strike, gets a little bit poke. But then why is Pyosik going in? I just don't get it. Like, why are you committing the ulti there? Summit has already used his Counter-Strike, is moving backwards. APA is late to the play. You already see the Ezreal in mid lane. It just doesn't make any sense at all. And this is where you really have to question, like, what are the comps on TL? Like, who is calling for this play? Because NRG are going to punish you 10 times out of 10. You can see the reaction there from APA. A little bit of frustration. They had an advantage on top side. Well, guess what? Now it's all completely gone. It's more than gone. And Renekton just got a triple kill for free and is going to be way ahead early on.
Yeah, I would love to see what the gold lead looks like. AP is going to jump onto Palafox's face, but it looks like it's just, standard trading here from APA, trying to be able to win that mid lane prio at the moment, as Pyosik might look at the Dragon as the next objective on the table. But Demonic Embrace being completed off of the advantageous skirmish there from NRG means that these saplings are going to start hurting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dhokla's up just 300, 400 gold, something like that, up on the top side, a little bit over 400, actually close to 500 now. But it's an over 1,000 gold lead for Contractz. So, that is where a lot of the gold difference is. He has a lot more farm. He has the kill. He has a couple assists. And that got him to that early Demonic Embrace here. So TL definitely not out of it by any means, but it's their decision-making that really is just this thorn in the side for this team. They can't seem to solve those problems, and NRG is a team that is aggressive, that is willing to scrap with you at all terms, and I think that kind of works against TL, because TL kind of never see a fight that they don't like, even the ones that they shouldn't.
I mean, in game one, they tried to take things slow, maybe, as a response of what some of the weaknesses that people were pinning onto Team Liquid and trying to figure out how they were playing. It doesn't work for them to go slow, so they try to up the things in the pace in game two. You saw how that one went, and now Pyosik is going to try to catch out Dhokla. He still has a flash, but he would have to slice and dice through two people. He's not going to burn it. It's a huge shutdown. It does go over to Pyosik, which is not the greatest thing in the world if you wanted that gold bounty to go to a carry. As a mid lane, all in from Palafox, is able to answer back and gets the solo on APA.
Palafox getting one back, as you say. It's been APA who got that solo kill in the last game. You could see a big reaction on the player cam there from APA, frustrated that he ended up getting taken down in that situation, as Palafox is now going to be pretty far ahead, and Tristana from behind really starts to struggle, as people will play aggressively on you. And just by nature of having explosive shot, you are going to push whether you want to or not. So you can't hold that wave and play safe. You're pushing whether you like it or not. And that exposes you very heavily to these difficult situations. And now the Herald's going to drop. Didn't look like Palafox got a share of the gold, unfortunately, for him, but some more gold in the pockets there of Contractz. Thankfully, TL did get something back on top side. A shutdown for Pyosik gets him back in the game as far as the gold lead is concerned, and Divine Sunder now completed for Summit off the plates that he was able to take there. Dhokla is basically, what's happening here is, this looks a little bit silly, he's kind of holding everything. He's trying to get Pyosik to use his ult before he flashes, so he can reactively flash and get away. And Pyosik is saying, nope, I'm just going to auto you, because you're going to die. He's not going to use the ulti until he flashes, and then in this situation, APA needed to flash as soon as his opponent flashed, and that's the reaction I'm talking about, because that rocket jump is very delayed, right? And that is one of the weaknesses of it. That allows you to buffer out of some weird situations. But as soon as he goes flashes in for the hammer form, you basically have to reactively cancel your rocket jump and flash out of it to be able to disjoint the damage that's going to come through from that melee form Q. And that's the only way you're going to survive in that situation, which feels really weird and counterintuitive. But in those spots, you have to be able to do it, because it's just too slow. The hammer form damage is always going to land before that rocket jump completes.
And for APA, this is a player that has been through in the semi-pro and the challenger series, through many tough series. He's been able to reverse sweep a couple of them and has been able to just bounce back. But seeing that look of frustration, you know that this is really starting to get to him, where a lot of this LCS stage games, even when things were looking shaky, he held his composure. This is where the pressure's starting to really get to him.
Well, and that's playoffs, right? All the players talk about it. You watch the promo for playoffs. It just means more to them, right? These games are more important, just point blank, period. It matters more. They have to win these. They know that their season ends if they do not. The goal for so many of these players is winning that championship, getting to play on a big stage, getting to go to New Jersey and play in the stadium. That is a lifelong goal, lifelong dream for so many of these guys. And every game that you lose, you can start to feel that slipping away. So it can change the way that you play. It can change your tendencies, and often not for the better. And it's also going to make any sort of defeat feel that much worse. So, TL has been in some great spots throughout this series. Have not been able to claim a game just yet. But at the end of the day, you know, another couple moves up towards topside. Pyosik, yes, they failed that play around Herald. They gave 3 kills over, but he goes back up top. They get a kill, they get a shutdown, they get a turret, and he's just repeating over and over and over towards Dhokla. That let them get the tower. Now it's going to get a flash.
And this might be good here for NRG because now they have reinforcements coming. All 5 members sinking into the top side of Team Liquid. Pyosik already flashing away at one Arctic Assault, but Contractz is there with the twisted advance, and Pyosik's got nowhere to run. Someone is just jumping in with the counter strike, but he's got no more mana to play with. CoreJJ is there just as a meat shield. And so Pyosik will fall. It looks like APA will try to bounce back with turret destruction in the mid lane and be able to trade one back.
Honestly, it's still pretty good for TL at the end of the day because they did get that top lane tier 1. They pushed back Dhokla. And when this big response comes through with Palafox TPing, you get a tier 1 in mid lane. Yes, they will lose the Herald, but TL from a pretty bad spot have done an okay job of problem solving it. You know, just because some things have gone wrong around top lane, if that was your game plan, if that was your win condition, you got to keep going for it, right? You've got to get Summit into this power position that they really wanted him in. And they have been able to reclaim the gold lead back on top side. He's up a good 500 and nearing 600 gold there in top lane, despite that triple kill that went over to Dhokla around Herald. So Summit does have the ability to try to take things over in that side lane, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do it. They send him down towards bot now, so they want to continue having him work on the split push, focusing on these towers, pulling NRG across the map, and trying to create space for Yeon and APA to get as much farm as possible, work on towers, and I mean, this turret's gone too. So now Dhokla's got to be a little bit careful.
CoreJJ is in Summit's left flank here. Looks like Contractz is farming up this blue buff. Dhokla taking a lot of damage, trying to catch him. He does! The counter-strike clipped him on the back end of that slice and dice with a well-timed flash, and Summit is able to get the solo kill.
That is huge for TL and their chances in this series. Goes forward with the counter-strike, and Dhokla was kind of playing with fire. I mean, the turret was clearly going to die. He stayed around, thought he could kind of, you know, trade back and forth with him a little bit. But at the end of the day, Summit flashes forward, catches him with the stun before Dhokla can get his ulti off, so he doesn't have that HP increase, ends up going down. And now that it's back-to-back turrets, he's working on the tier 2.
Oh, Palafox was looking for the all-in on APA, but he gets the bunch of shot out before Palafox is able to look for the all-in, so he's out of there, but the things are getting so close here, Azael, as you can already see that the solo laners of NRG wanting to push the pace, wanting to put the pressure on, whereas the solo laners of Team Liquid doing everything they can to not buckle under it.
Summit is the richest man in the game now by quite a lot here, and he is almost 1,500 gold up on Dhokla. He just took both the tier 1 towers, then got a kill, and now Summit looking for the flank here. NRG are going for an engage, but Summit's behind them. This could go bad.
Yeah, Pyosik already threw out the Glacial Prison. Yeon onto Killer Instinct, forcing FBI to flash. APA needs to find a target. He's only hitting Ignar right now, but they collapse onto the front line and they force the back line of NRG off. So nothing that the front line of NRG could do to handle Team Liquid's comp. That's a huge team fight win for Team Liquid.
TL destroy NRG as they try to move in for the dragon there. If they did not have eyes on Summit, he already has 2 items so early on. Palafox wasn't even really there with the squad. Palafox and NRG's AD carry do both stay alive, so FBI survives as well to try to defend. But just like that, it is now a nearly 2K gold lead for TL. TL are going to give away some freebies, but they're also going to make some great plays happen, and we can see it one more time. They're forcing the engage, but it's onto CoreJJ, so we're flashing forward, hard engaging onto CoreJJ. Summit comes in on the flank. APA is there, also unmarked. Yes, Palafox now arrives, but that is the richest member on your team. Was not really a part of this fight whatsoever, and now Summit is going to be so difficult to deal with. You can see Yeon really happy after that one, as they needed something to kind of rebuild that momentum that they had lost. It can be such a back-breaking feeling to give away a bad fight around Herald, to feel like your chances in this series were slipping away.
Yeah.
But just like that, they've kind of clawed their way back into this game, but they have to continue to play clean. They have to continue to make smart choices, because FBI, again, could potentially take over in those later stages. Jayce is still a massive threat here as well. He's 3-0-5, has the stopwatch, almost has his tier, fully stacked up for that Mermana. And is going to be problematic here also.
And I have to say, Azael, Yeon is not normally someone that shows his emotions easily, so seeing a smile is a small sign of hope for Team Liquid fans watching from a deficit. It's still match point here for NRG. The gold lead is slightly in Team Liquid's favor, and we've seen how many times NRG have been able to just strangle that lead back into their control. But Yeon was able to pick up a lot of gold during all those times they collapsed on the top side of the map, and Dhokla is just dead again.
Yeah, nice kill again. And I want to see TL continue to do this. This is working so well. You're going to have Summit very quickly in a position where Dhokla isn't even going to be safe under his tower. He can start to ignore him, just walk forward and hit the turret in his face. FBI maybe going to get solo kill by Yeon.
He finds an angle. FBI was unchecked. No flash available, no heal. That's an easy killer instinct. The Team Liquid are going to continue taking this momentum forward in the mid lane.
They're even taking the bot side jungle. They're pushing up for this tier 2 mid. Potentially could look for a dive here. Contractz is around, but Palafox has to be respectful. And Summit now unanswered in that bot side is going to be able to get the tier 2. They get the tier 2 mid. TL are starting to run away with this one, really putting themselves in a great spot.
It's going to come down to Palafox now. He's the only member left on NRG who still has a shutdown bounty and a large amount of gold. The only one that has a lead over APA. He needs to be able to find these shock blasts and make them count in this poke war against Team Liquid before they get a chance to force the engage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see, you know, how TL want to play this out. Because like I said, when I was talking about that Fiora game, I was kind of critical of the fact that they did start to force 5v5s in it. I think it's a little bit of a different situation with Jax. Jax, you know, does team fight a lot more easily. But still, if you're dominating so heavily through sides, continue playing towards that. I don't think there's ever going to be really much of an answer from NRG. If you just continue sending Jax to a side lane, have Pyosik playing behind him, NRG are going to need 3+ members to answer it.
Yeah.
And I think it's desperation time for them. They're looking like they're thinking about, do we just start the Baron?
And it just comes down to what you and the lounge were talking about, Team Liquid. It was never necessarily a problem with their draft. It was the execution and how coordinated were they in the mid game, into the late game. Do they want to bring someone over for this fight? I guess they want to force the 5-on-5. They look for APA once again. Palafox, huge snipe, and FBI cleans it up. And now they engage onto the front line. They just make short work of CoreJJ. Team Liquid cannot pursue this one. NRG back to the Baron.
That was a big time play there from Palafox. He knocked APA out of his rocket jump with the hammer form E there. And Yeon now in trouble.
Yeon is also in danger of dying, flashing away, using the killer instinct as well, but Dhokla's waiting in the fog.
Summit.
Yeon gets flashed on cleanse. That's Dhokla. Big Doke shows up huge. Yeon gets taken out. Summit is now into the back line looking for Ignar, but he goes into FBI and he takes him out. Does he have the mobility? He might have enough ability hits to get out of this one, but the stasis, I don't think he's getting out of this one. Palafox is able to shoot him safely over the wall. That's the number advantage once again for NRG.
They are pinging back into the Baron, but it's starting to get a bit dicey. I mean, they don't have a lot of damage here. I don't think they should go for this, and I think they are now realizing that themselves. There were initial red team pings onto that Baron, as it will subside and we'll be able to back off here. We'll see though. Is it going to be a catch? Neither of them can actually see each other, so neither member steps forward to actually spot each other. We can see FBI there moving up to, I believe it was 15th place all time in the LCS, 4 kills. So congratulations to him, but we got to go back to this initial play. This is all Palafox. Again, punishing APA here. Goes aggressive. The shot blast connects, then flashing forward, knocks him out of that rocket jump. And APA holding onto the flash, deciding he wasn't going to be able to get out to safety. NRG just forced their way into the fight. And then again on the other side, Yeon kind of stepping too far forward here, gets caught. Dhokla's able to eventually track him down and take him down as Yeon was stepping forward. That looked weird because it looks like the ward is not disabled in that side brush on the pink ward. So I don't know if he saw him or not, or if that's just a spectator bug. Because you see that ward I'm talking about, they're walking over right now. Looks like it's not spotted by the pink ward for some reason. There are some weird brushes like that in League where it just seems straight up bug. So I don't know if Yeon saw him and didn't react, or if it's a spectator issue. But either way, good job, Dhokla. It does end up taking him down. Summit is still a beast and it's going to be so hard to deal with. But FBI is really getting strong. Jayce is really strong. NRG are saying, we're not dealing with split push. You got to come fight us right now. You don't get any more time. We're just going to be on Baron.
And this is where Team Liquid, you know, they could commit to the split push, but they feel the pressure. They feel the need to try and fight NRG in this Baron pit. And they have multiple flanks. Spatial Prison lands true onto Dhokla. They try to get the Counter-Strike stunned down. CoreJJ already falls. Yeon going in with the killer instinct, but doesn't find enough damage onto Dhokla. Pyosik has to lead the charge again, but he is the only front line left. As APA rocket jumps in, finds one reset, looks for Palafox. Palafox stops him in his tracks and punts him out of the sky. Void Seekers will land true onto Palafox, but Yeon doesn't have killer instinct anymore, and he cannot follow up on the damage. NRG are stopped at the Baron, but they still maintain the majority number.
Man, that is actually so punishing that APA went down there. Potentially, they could have just turned back onto the Baron because there were so many low HP NRG members here. We can see this one more time. TL coming in from all angles. This is a tough place to fight right now for NRG. You can see that even the Baron's hitting them. And in goes Summit into the midst of so many members. APA is stepping forward, looking to fire. Yeon, Killer Instinct into the backline. Couldn't quite finish off Dhokla. You can see FBI as well gets Buster Shot back, barely survives. Then APA goes in. Palafox, though, turns around and hammers him into the ground. If he didn't chase there, I think they can maybe turn for Baron, and you can see the frustration on his face. They know that was a pretty big mistake, dying around Baron there with both your ADs up. He was healthy enough. I think they could have at least forced NRG to stay around, and with multiple members having like 10% HP, I don't know if they could have done anything about it.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't know. Maybe they would have forced off the Baron, whatever. But APA, it feels like in a lot of these moments, he's wanting it too bad. He's going for these big plays. We saw that in the previous Trist games as well. You know, this guy is new to the LCS stage, and now Core are going to get caught out.
Yeon is here for the follow-up, though. Dhokla losing a lot of HP, but they can't follow up anymore. But Killer Instinct into the Void Seeker blinks out Dhokla, but APA is caught out. Once again, Palafox, but he gets blown up by Yeon, saving his other mid laner. And FBI is now on the run as well. Contractz trying to fend them off and be a deterrent, but they lose Ignar in the process of it. For the first time, Team Liquid, they have the number advantage, and they're going to look to pressure the Baron.
Yeah, they're going to move over to the Baron here. That TP from Summit made all the difference. Found the Counter-Strike on both FBI and Palafox. Palafox is TPing in too, but you do not want to be TPing in on top of that Jax. Great sidestep there from APA on the ulti from FBI. I think they have everything they need to finish it.
Contractz still has Flash, he has Smite. Can he get in there? The Q flash, it's not in time! Pyosik secures the Baron. They take out Contractz, and Team Liquid might just be back in this game.
This game is just an all-out brawl, fight after fight after fight. It is 29 kills here in just about 26 minutes. We can watch it one more time. It starts out with them thinking they have this pick onto CoreJJ, but watch the double DP. It's a Jax and a Jayce TPing in. FBI shifts forward here, trying to go aggressive, but this is the problem. Look at the positioning there from Summit. Q's forward onto Palafox, lands the stun on both the carries. FBI did not have the shift until it was too late. And Summit making all the difference there, turning around, and then FBI trying to land this poke. Contractz looks for it. Q flash goes in, throws down the smite, but it is secured by Pyosik, and TL going to be able to grab a dragon off the back of that. Now 3K in the lead. The walls are closing in on NRG just a bit here. It's going to be tough, you know, when you're playing these poke comps and you start getting pushed in, you start getting corralled back into your base. It's harder to find those angles. It's harder to make those plays that you really want. And now a Baron empowered Jax can go into that 1-4 split here. It is going to be really tough to answer.
And you can tell Palafox was pressured to do something big in that moment. He had been so great at interrupting APA's mid-rocket jump flights time after time, but the one time he goes after APA, Yeon is there to back him up, and he saves him from blinking down. And now the shutdown went over to Team Liquid's side. The gold lead has been just selected for Team Liquid's approval here. And now Palafox, he still has some of the most damage on his team to support. He has the most items, but it's going to be a lot of a tougher task here for NRG to be able to surmount this lead that Team Liquid have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at a lot of the tools that are starting to be built up on that TL side. You know, Ludens is completed. It looks like a death cap angle here for Yeon. He's already got an elixir in his bags to be ready for that next fight. There's a stopwatch on Core. There's a full Zhonya's completed on Summit. It's likely going to be, you know, a Sterix or something like that after this as well. So he's going to be pretty tanky. He can throw himself into the back line. He's getting very high level, almost 18, you know, 3 levels ahead of Dhokla. In fact, 3 levels ahead of anyone over on NRG. And he's going to have such low CDs that you can throw yourself in the back line. You throw down that Counter-Strike. As soon as that expires, you're in any danger into the Zhonyas, and you're going to have the Counter-Strike ready as you're coming out of the Zhonyas again. So it becomes so tough. Like, Jax comes in the back line, you want to turn on him and burst him down. You just can't really do it when he's in this good of a position. So the job is going to become very difficult for NRG, but it starts with just defending this Baron push. And we'll see if they're going to be able to do that as Yeon is just poking over the wall relentlessly.
APA in the mid lane. Contractz throwing out the ultimate as well. Summit gets rooted up, but he's able to walk on back. That's one ulti gone from the side of NRG, and that's a huge disengaged pool as well. Pyosik leading the charge as they throw out the Glacial Prison just to fend them off. That's the inhibitor turret fallen. Team Liquid making their way into the middle inhibitor while Summit pushes through the top side of the map. They don't have a wave quite yet on the bottom side, so they would just bleed into the top side and join up with Summit once they are done with this inhibitor. They're making short work of this base so far. The engage from Dhokla forces Summit back, but he still has his flash available, so he's still safe. And APA walked up, ready to pressure the Nexus turrets, but it's all that Team Liquid need for now.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get anything much else off of this. You can see Pyosik even went Knight's Vow, and he slammed that on the Summit. It's not going to either of the 280 carries. It is going on his top laner here, so clearly we know where his faith is in this game. He wants to be playing around the top laner, wants to be playing aggressively. You can see Contractz going to be taking quite a beating. Does have 3 items completed, but the poke from Yeon is very, very difficult to deal with now. FBI, though, working towards his 3rd item. You can see Palafox working towards his 4th. So NRG are still going to have angles. They're still going to have opportunities in this game. We'll see if they can make it happen.
Take a moment to breathe now as Team Liquid getting ready for the next 2 objectives on the table in about 1 minute and 30 seconds time. It would not be Soul, but it would be Soul Point if they get the next Ocean Dragon. Baron available in 1 minute 40, and already they're doing the preparation necessary to set up for these objectives. Vision controls pushed up into the jungle quadrants of NRG makes it super difficult for them to enter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're not going to see NRG likely contest at the Dragon. I think it's just going to be Baron that they're going to look for, unless they really feel that they see an angle, because it is very difficult to approach, and they've got no vision in this quadrant really at all, right? They've got nothing out by the river, by the Dragon, so it's going to be very difficult for them to actually, create that space. They do have Moakai to try to clear brushes in their topside jungle to try to move their way out towards Baron when that's a spawn, and I think they will want to contest for that. But because it is not Soul Point just yet, it's not going to be that Soul that does come down. I think they'll be willing to give up a Dragon, just continue farming, try to get your carries to a spot where they can really have more of an impact. But it's just so annoying when you're playing against AP Kaisa from ahead, because Yeon is just going to sit back, he's going to continue farming waves, and he's just going to throw out these W's non-stop, right? There's not really any danger for him. He's 2 screens away, but every single time one hits, you basically have to go back to base and heal up. It's super, super annoying. Ezreal also has no lifesteal, right? So it's not like Ezreal is going to be going VT or something like that. Yeah. He may just be going towards a Ma, as his next item. Palafox also, you don't have a lot of sustain in the kit there either. So neither of these guys are going to be able to shrug off that poke like some of the other.
True Shot Barrage does not land. Glacial Prison is forced to use by Pyosik just to make sure that no one from NRG can look to punish onto Yeon. He still has both of his summer spells. He still has Killer Instinct, but that could have been close.
Yeah, that's actually pretty big. They get that ulti off Sejuani as well, but look at Summit. He's just ignoring him. He's going to kill the tower.
But APA gets blown up. Team Liquid now have to fight this one out. Yeon still has both of his summoner spells available, and he can deal damage, but he has to rely on CoreJJ and Pyosik to frontline for him, but he looks for Contractz. Killer Instinct over the wall. He still has a flash available. FBI closes the distance, though, and Yeon is gone. FBI takes him out, but someone's got to teleport to deal with someone who is in the base and takes out the inhibitor. Pyosik buys some time, but FBI and Ignar looking to cut him off. He's going to look to join up with Summit, the person that he put the Knight's Vow on. Maybe he can look to get some damage.
The center of the wall.
But it's the teleport coming back in. They've closed all around them, and there's nowhere else for Summit to go. Palafox sends him to the skies. A 3-man counter-strike to Summit outplays it, and he takes out FBI. He ward-offs over the wall. No way he gets out of this one, right? The Q stun doesn't land, and Summit makes it out.
Wow. They just didn't respect the damage. He's coming over the wall. Summit makes a massive play there. Had the Hull Breaker, had the Zoni, so he goes over the wall. That first stun from Ignar was really huge as he stunned him over the wall. It made the Counter-Strike expire before he could Leap Strike in, but he had the Zonius, so he jumps in, he pops that Zonius, and then that buys him time to get that Leap Strike back, and now TL are just going to go straight onto the Baron here. I don't think NRG have any idea this is happening. This is going to be a freebie for TL. They are way too late at this point, even if they run straight there. So TL, they do lose a bit of a fight. They do lose the Dragon. The gold lead is closing, but they have 2 inhibitors. They have the Baron, and no one can answer Summit. Like, 2 people have to be there to even have a chance of answering him. We saw him take the turret right in Dhokla's face. That forced the TP back from Palafox. And we can watch this whole crazy situation one more time, as it is another catch there on APA. Gets punished big time. Tries to react with that rocket jump. Can't quite do it. And then Pyosik, Yeon, Core are all around. And you can see Yeon, Killer Instinct into the back line, does get a kill. FBI shifting in, finishes him off. They were just trying to buy time, and then Pyosik sees, oh, he's going to go for the TP. He's trying to get there to interrupt. couldn't quite do it, is getting chased. And then you're thinking, well, maybe someone can make something happen. But watch this Q over the wall from Ignar. As he pops that counter-strike, he stuns him, they back off. It expires, and this is where I thought they were just gonna be able to burst him down. But the Zhonya's on the to the skies there, buys him time for the E to come back up. And then a bad shift from FBI. He needed to shift away. He shifted back towards his team. He just needed to go away from the leap strike. He would not have gotten tagged by the stun. But he does go down, and Yeon knows how big that is for their chances in this game. They needed to get something back, and now Yeon does have Death Cap completed.
Nature's Grass exchange by Glacial Prison from Pyosik. Contractz.
But look at Summit.
Looking for the disengage as well, but Summit is now making light work of the top turret, and now all inhibitor turrets are gone. 2 exposed inhibitors are for the taking from Team Liquid. The fact that Summit has done everything in his power to keep Team Liquid's chances alive in this series has led to them now pushing into the base of NRG with only 2 exposed Nexus turrets left between them and Team Liquid, taking Game 3 into their own hands.
And NRG doesn't have a lot of their engage tools. There's no flash on Ignar, there's no flash on Contractz, no ult on Contractz, so there's not really any angles. They can't even poke here because there's a million minions, and TL have got everything they need to try to close this one out.
And Summit's just so tanky. He walks up, gets a counter-strike and a couple autos on the Dhokla. They get the 2 Nexus turrets easily. Team Liquid are not done yet, folks. Contractz goes in on the APA, but they make short work of the front line. They jump back on the APA, but he still survives, and Summit can just whack and bonk on the Nexus to close out the game. Palafox and FBI do everything they can for the last stand, but this one goes to Team Liquid. We have a series on our hands.
TL battling back here in this series. It was a match point for NRG coming into this game, and TL, after that Rift Herald fight, you were starting to think it might be a sweep here, but they continue attacking top lane. Pyosik and Summit get Summit into this winning position, and the Jax was